In this session, let's understand about field symbols. Field symbols are like pointers using which you can point to an existing memory. So when you define a field symbol, it doesn't really define a new memory in the program, but it's just that you can use that field symbol as a pointer to point to an existing memory. So you can assign a data object to a field symbol, and when a data object is assigned to this field symbol, it simply points to that data object. So whatever operations you perform on this field symbol will directly affect the memory of the data object which is assigned to this field symbol. So field symbols basically allow you to make your programs more dynamic. In this session, I'll talk about how you can define these field symbols and how you can use the field symbols in your program. And I'll also show you one example where I'll make some part of my program dynamic using these field symbols. So field symbols are defined using the keyword field symbols. So if I want to define a field symbol, I'll say field hyphen symbols, and then you have to use this less than and greater than symbols. So within this you have to give your field symbol name. So I'll say fs underscore MAKT, for example, and you can type it just like any other data object. Typing a field symbol is more important when you're dealing with structures or internal tables, because if you want to access a certain field of a structure or an internal table, then the field symbol should be typed. That's the only way the syntax checker will know that there's a particular component that exists for this field symbol. Otherwise it will try to give a runtime error. So if I want to type this field symbol, I can say type, and I can refer it to a elementary type or a data element or a user defined type, or I can also refer it to a structure or a table. I'll define this by referring to this MAKT table. Now I have this field symbol. I cannot directly access this field symbol or work with this field symbol. To work with this field symbol should be first assigned. When I assign a field symbol, then the system will point this field symbol to the data object that is assigned for this field symbol. So I'll show you one example how it works. Let's say we have a regular data object, IT MAKT, type MAKT, type standard table of MAKT, and then I'll define one work area. Now let's say I'll write one select query, select star from MAKT into table IT MAKT, where matnar equals to let's say 100. So I'll get all the materials with this material number into my internal table. In a regular way, I would loop this internal table. Let's say I want to modify a record in this internal table, so I'll have to first loop it. I'll say loop it IT MAKT into WMAKT. When I do this, a row of this IT MAKT will be copied to this WMAKT. Now IT MAKT is a different memory, WMAKT is a different memory. Then if I want to change the material number of the first record or all the records, for example, I would write my code as WMAKT matnar equals to, let's say 100, and then I have to use this statement, modify IT MAKT from WMAKT, and I have to give either the key reference or index reference. So let's say index siteabix. What this will do is, in each loop, the siteabix will contain the loop number. So for each loop, I'm changing the value of the material and copying the value. I'm changing it in the work area and copying the work area back to my internal table. So when this is copied, the data in the internal table will be modified. So if you want to see this in debug mode, I'll keep a breakpoint here. Now if you see IT MAKT, this is the data we have in IT MAKT, and I'm looping it. In the first loop, the first row of this IT MAKT will be copied to my WMAKT. If you want to see that, so in the first loop, the first record of IT MAKT is copied. Here I'm saying WMAKT matnar is 100, so I'm modifying that in my work area. So here the value should change from 100, it has become 100. But the internal table data has not changed because I changed it in the work area, and this work area and the internal table are two separate memories. They have no relation to each other except for the fact that they share the same line type. Now after that, when I execute this modify statement, site IBEX is currently 1 because we are in the first loop. It will copy the contents of this WMAKT back to my internal table. At this point, the row in the internal table should change. So when I execute this statement, you see that the MATNAR value of the first row in the internal table has changed. Similarly, in the next loop, again, the second record is copied. I'm modifying the material number in the work area. Then when I execute the modify statement, it will copy that back to my internal table. So here we are working with two separate memories, right? Internal table is one memory, work area is another memory. So I'm changing my values in the work area and copying that back to my internal table to modify the data in my internal table, because we cannot directly access the data of an internal table. Now let's see how we can do the same thing using field symbols. Now to use this field symbol, again, to use it as a work area for my internal table, the field symbol should be of the same type as my internal table. So here I've defined my field symbol as MAKT, which is same as my internal table line. Then instead of saying loop at IT MAKT into WMAKT, what I will do is, I'll say the syntax is loop at IT MAKT. With field symbols, we use this keyword assigning. So I'll say assigning FS MAKT. What this will do is, in the first loop, the first row of the internal table will be assigned to FS MAKT. Now this FS MAKT will point to the first row of my internal table, and here if I say FS MAKT MATNAR, I can access the component like this statically because I've defined that field symbol as type MAKT. The syntax checker knows that this field symbol has these fields, MATNAR, SPRAS, etc. That's why it will allow me to do it. If I don't type it, then the syntax checker will only know that this field symbol has those fields in the runtime. So statically it will give a syntax error. I'm assigning this. I'll get rid of this modify statement. So I'm simply assigning the row of the internal table to the field symbol, and I'm modifying the value of this field symbol. So let's see what happens. I'm not using this modify statement. So here, if you see, at this point, the loop statement is not yet executed. And if I try to see what is there in FS MAKT, the system doesn't recognize FS MAKT. It is not yet assigned. So it is an unassigned field symbol. So the system won't recognize if a field symbol is not assigned. But when I execute this loop statement, the first row of this internal table will be assigned to the field symbol. So it will recognize it if I press F5. Now FS MAKT is assigned and it has the contents of my internal table, the first row. So here this first row is assigned to my internal table. Now observe, the moment I say FS MAKT MATNAR is 100, it should change here as well as here automatically, because this FS MAKT is not a new memory. It is simply pointing to the first row of my internal table. So the moment I change something in the field symbol, the first row of the internal table will automatically change, right? So if I execute this FS MAKT MATNAR is 100, you'll notice it has changed here as well as here, right? Whereas when I did with work area, only the work area was changed. My internal table still had the original value, and then I had to use a modify statement to copy the data from this work area back to my internal table. Whereas with field symbols, it is simply pointing to whatever memory you are assigning to it, and if you change the field symbol, the original memory will automatically change. Okay, so this is how you can use field symbols to point to any memory, and the moment you change something in the field symbol, the original memory that is assigned to this field symbol will automatically change. Now you can type these field symbols, or you can also define it as type any. If I say type any, that means it will take any field that is assigned. So it could be a structure, it could be a field. If you say type any table, then it can take any internal table that you assign. Okay, so for example, if I say type any table, then I can assign my IT MAKT directly to this field symbol. So it will point to the whole internal table. So I can use this field symbol as a internal table itself. With data objects, you cannot say type any or anything because we use these field symbols to dynamically handle things at the runtime while the program is running, and there would be situations where you may not be able to determine the type of the data object statically at the design time while you are writing the code. So in those situations, we'll define it as type any, and at the runtime, it will take any form based on the data object you are assigning to the field symbol. Okay, so you define field symbols using this field symbol statement, and then to assign a field symbol, we use this assign statement. So for example, let's say you have one data object, let's say vmatnar, type matnar, value 100, 100. Now, if I want to assign this data object to the field symbol, then I can define something like field symbols fs underscore matnar. Either I can say type matnar if I know statically that this only a field of type matnar will be assigned to this, or else I can simply say type any, and then I can assign this matnar vmatnar to this fs matnar by using the statement assign vmatnar to fs matnar. Then this vmatnar data object will be assigned to this fs matnar, and after the assignment, this fs matnar will simply point to vmatnar. So if you change fs matnar, vmatnar will change automatically. Okay, so to show you practically how these field symbols can be used, there are different ways you can assign dynamically. So let's look at one example where we'll use these field symbols to dynamically assign a field in the runtime based on the user actions and achieve some dynamic functionality. To demonstrate that, I'll use one example. I'll copy this program, ALV program, and I'll show you one example how we can use these field symbols to dynamically achieve something. Copy, let's say here, if I execute this program, it's a ALV report program. Let's say I'll give these values and execute. This is the report output. Now, let's say the user wants to filter the data. So he wants to see the data about only a particular plant or only a particular material number. Then he can do something like, he can click on this filter, set filter. He can select the column by which he wants to filter. So I'll say plant, copy, and here let's say I want to filter for this plant 1000 and click OK. Then it will list all the plants that are 1000, so all the material numbers which are having 1000 plant assigned. Now to do this filter, he has to follow these multiple steps. So click on this button first and then select the field by which you want to filter, and then set the filter value, and then it will display. There's a 4-step process. Now my user says that I'm too lazy, I don't want to do all those 4 steps. I just want to double click on any field. You simply filter by that field. So for example, if I double click on this 1000, then the system should automatically filter the values for this 1000 plant. If I double click on this 100 material, then it should automatically filter for this 100 material. If you want to statically handle this, then we already know that in the ALV, when the ALV is called, in the output, if the user double clicks, it will trigger that user command subroutine where we can check this function code &IC1. So I should be writing my code in that particular subroutine. So we've already discussed this while talking about ALV reports, that the system will, the ALV will call this user command subroutine that you're passing when you're calling the ALV, and the function code for double click is ampersand IC1. So here earlier we were calling this MM03 transaction. Instead of that, I should write the logic to filter the records based on the value on which the user double clicked and accordingly show the filtered records to the user. So I'll first do it manually by hard coding the field names, and then we'll see how we can make it dynamic using the field symbols. So I'll remove this code of calling this, then I'll define few data objects. So let's say data LT filter, like IT final is the internal table we are passing, and then I'll say LW filter like line of LT filter. Okay, so I'm defining one internal table which is same as my IT final that I originally passed. The only difference will be IT final will have all the data, whereas this LT filter will have the filtered data only. Okay, so and then I'll call the ALV again and pass this LT filter. So whenever the user double clicks, I'll simply filter the records based on the value, call the ALV and pass this internal table to the ALV so that it shows that filtered records only. So here I'll write the code. If field name is MATNAR, that means the user has double clicked on the MATNAR field, then I can say loop at IT final into LW filter where MATNAR equals to RS cell field value. So I'm only looping those records on which the user double clicked, and then I'll fill my internal table. I'll say append LW filter to LT filter. Once I fill this LT filter, I'll call this ALV function module again. I can modularize it better by using this perform statements. Instead of calling the ALV here, I can say perform show filter records, and within that subroutine I can maintain just to make my code look better, but I'll maintain it here directly. And to avoid confusion, let me remove all these comment lines to keep it small. Now I'll also remove this. So what I'm trying to do is, when the user double clicks, I'm checking that he has double clicked, and then I'm checking if he has double clicked on the material field. If he has double clicked on the material field, then I'm looping this IT final by comparing the material where MATNAR equals to the value, and I'm filling this. Or else if RS cell field name equals to, let's say, works. He has double clicked on works, and then I loop it to fill my filter data. But here, since he has double clicked on works, I'll compare works with the value on which he double clicked. So I'm basically statically comparing. So if I have 20 fields in my internal table, I have to write this if else logic for all those 20 fields, and in each if else logic I'll compare that respective field to filter the records. So this works, and here instead of passing IT final, I'll say IT LT filter. Okay, this code works. Now if you see 100 100 and 100 600. Now if I double click on 100 100, it is calling. Let me see what I missed. I have somewhere else. Okay, I should change the program name. So this is what happens if you copy your program and hard code it. So now if I double click, it should filter. So if I double click on 100, it should call my @user command and it has filtered those by 100. Similarly, if I double click on 1000 plant, it calls the @user command where I'm comparing with the field, with the plant value and filtering the record, so it filters that by record. But since I only considered in my if-else logic this material number and plant, it will work only for those two columns. If I double click on casings, nothing happens, right? It shows empty records. So to make sure it works for all the four columns, I have to update my logic to add few more if-else conditions. I can say else if this, else if this. So here I'll check for MAKTX and here I'll check for name1. So if I have 20 fields, I should write it for all the 20 fields. Only then it will work for all the columns. So now if I see, it should work for this as well and this as well. Okay. Now since we are statically handling this, there is one more problem here. If I extend my IT final structure to add one more field in this structure, let's say I want to show the SPRAS field also in the output, then this logic will not work for that additional field because you have added it later, and at the time of developing this program I did not consider the SPRAS field in my if-else logic. So if you expand the ALV output to add additional columns, then this functionality will not be available for those additional columns unless I update this logic to include that columns also, right? So this is one drawback of manually handling. First case, if you have too many fields, then you have to write the same code for all those fields by putting this if-else condition, so you have code redundancy. I'm repeating the same code with the different field names. And second thing, if something changes in the program in the future, your program is not future proof basically, right? You have to again update all the logic manually because I'm handling this manually. Let's see how we can achieve the same thing using field symbols to make it more dynamic, and it should work even if you add additional fields in the future, right? So what I'll do is I'll define one field symbol. Let's say data fs field type any. So I'll just define one field. Then I will remove this whole logic. Instead of deleting, I'm commenting it. Then I'll say loop at IT final into, let's say, LW filter. Similar to previous one, I'm looping it. Instead of checking for this if conditions, if field name is this, if field name is that, what I'll do is I'll use this statement assign component. So if you want to assign a particular field of a structure, you use this syntax assign component. Either you can give the field name statically, or you can also give a variable name which has the field name. So in our case, this RS cell field name has the name of the field. So I can say assign component this. So whatever value is there in this particular field, it should have the name of the component, will be assigned to my field symbol. So I'll say assign component RS cell field name of structure LW filter to my FS field. So I'm trying to say assign component this of this structure to this field symbol. If you know the field name dynamically, then you can give the variable name which has a field name, or else if I want, I can also say assign component matnar. You can also do it this way. But since we want to make it dynamic, when the user double clicks, this RS cell field name will have the field in which double click. I am assigning that field of this structure to this field symbol. Then I can say if fs field equals to rs cell field value. So I'm comparing the value of this field on which the user double clicked with the current value of that field in the work area. If both are same, that means the user has double clicked in the field I want. Or if both are same, it basically means that this is the value by which you should be filtering. So that's my filter value. I'll append my LW filter to IT filter. Sorry, LT filter. Okay. So if you double clicks on MATNR, for example, then the MATNR field of the structure will be assigned to the field symbol, and in the current loop of my IT final, if the MATNR field is having the same value as the value on which the user double clicked, then I'm filtering those records by moving them to this LT filter internal table, then I'm passing it. So with this syntax, with this way of accessing a field value of a structure dynamically, at this point I really don't know the name of the field in which the user is double clicking. So whatever name is double clicking on, I'm assigning that field value to my field symbol and then comparing that to filter out the records in my internal table. So let's see how this works. Sorry, I should use field symbols. Now, if I keep a breakpoint here and execute, let's say I'll double click on this 1000 plant, and here RS cell field name will have that works because I double clicked on works, and RS cell field value will have the value I double clicked on. And when it is looping this internal table, when I execute this statement, at this point if you see FS field, it is not assigned yet, and once I execute this, it is assigned. So 1000 value is assigned because works is 1000 in the first loop, and that is the value I double click. So I'm moving that to this another internal table to filter. In the next loop, the second row will be assigned, so it will be 1100, the FS field. Then I'm checking if that is the value on which I double clicked. No, so I'm not moving that. Then like that I'm comparing each record and filtering the data based on the value in which the user double clicked, and in the output you'll see it is filtered by that. And if I double click on this 100 for example, I'll remove the breakpoint. It is filtering by that. If I double click on, let's say, Barcelona, it will filter by that. So I no more have to manually check the field name, right? Since I no more have to manually check the field name, if you extend this output to add another column, then this logic should work for that column as well, right? Because we no more manually checking the field name, so we are not dependent on the names, right? So this is more dynamic way of achieving this filter functionality and also making your logic future proof, so that if somebody extends this program to add a couple of more columns in the output, then our filter logic will still work for those additional columns. In earlier case, when we use this if-else conditions, you could still achieve the same functionality using that approach, but since you are manually checking, you have to write a lot of if-else conditions for all the fields, and that is not future proof. If somebody adds the columns, then your logic will not be working for those additional columns, right? So this is how you can use field symbols to achieve various things. So field symbols are basically pointers which you can point to any memory, and one advantage of using field symbols is that you can dynamically assign any field at the runtime to your field symbol and accordingly build your logic to make your functionality more dynamic. Okay. Initially, you may, if you are new to programming especially, if you may find it a bit confusing, but use them, you practice this, use a field symbol, define a field symbol, use that in a statement, assign one data object to it, check in debug mode how it works, and then you should feel comfortable. But however, you need to remember few things when you're working with these field symbols. If you try to access a field symbol that is not assigned, okay, since we are determining that this field name exists in this structure dynamically and assigning it here, if you pass a field name that doesn't exist in this structure, then this field symbol will not be assigned, right? For example, this structure has 4 fields, and instead of one of those 4 fields, if I try to assign a field that doesn't exist, let's say if I say assign SPRAS of this structure, then since this SPRAS field doesn't exist in this LW filter structure, this field symbol will not be assigned. And if you try to access a field symbol in your statements that is not assigned, you will get a runtime error. So if I try to execute this, and if I double click, it's giving me a runtime error because that field does not exist in the structure, so the field symbol remains unassigned, and then in the next statement I try to access that field symbol. So whenever you are working with these field symbols, you need to always keep your statement where you are accessing the field symbol within this if condition. If you are doing this immediately after the assignment statement, you can check for Sai sub RC, because if a field symbol is assigned, or if this assign statement is successful in assigning the field to this field symbol, then it will be 0. The Sai sub RC will be 0. Otherwise, it will be 1. So you can either check Sai sub RC, or the more neat way of doing it is you can check for if FS field is assigned. Only then execute this statement. So this will ensure that this statement is executed only if the field symbol is assigned. So now we should not get any runtime error. So whenever you are working with field symbols, since you mostly use them in dynamic programming where you'll know the values in the runtime, then you cannot statically know whether the field symbol will be assigned always or not. So you should always use that if condition. So wherever you are accessing the field symbol, try to use that if that field symbol is assigned, then only access the field symbol in your program. Otherwise, don't do that. So don't never write a field symbol statement without checking if the field symbol is assigned or not. Okay. So now it's showing a blank screen instead of giving us the runtime error. Okay. So even in this program, here if I want to access it, I should be checking if FSMAKT is assigned. Only then execute. So this we have to change to MAKT. Okay. So field symbols are defined using field symbol statement. You can type it to a structure, table, data element, element type, anything. Or if you don't know which type it will take, you can also use this type any with field symbols. And whenever you are accessing a field symbol, make sure you keep that in a if condition, checking for this if it is assigned or not. And then you can assign a field symbol using the assign statement. If you want to use it in a loop statement, this is how you use it. You say loop at itmakt assigning your field symbol. If you want to use it to access a component of a structure, then this is how you use it. So you can say assign component name of structure name to your field symbol. So this will assign that particular field of the component to your field symbol. Or if you simply want to assign a variable, you can also assign it this way. So you say assign your field name to your field symbol. Okay. So that's about field symbols. Practice them. Whenever you get an opportunity, you can start using them. And if you are comfortable, I would recommend use field symbols at your will. So if you don't want to use a work area for an internal table, feel free to use a field symbol. But the only thing you need to remember is when you are changing the field symbol, the internal table value gets changed immediately. So you won't get an opportunity to revert your changes if some other condition is not satisfied later. If you use the work area, then you always have the option to check if all the conditions are satisfied before you execute that modify statement. But with field symbols, since it directly points to your internal table line, the moment you change it, the original is changed. So there's no way for you to revert that. Okay, but based on your situation, you can use field symbols. In fact, using field symbols is more efficient because we are not really creating a new memory and copying data from one memory to the other memory. So pointers are always more efficient, but they have their own drawbacks in the sense the moment you change it, the original is changed. So you won't have an opportunity to revert the changes if some other condition is not satisfied in your program later. Okay. So that's about field symbols. See you in the next video.